And now let's get into our player ratings, and we'll start off with Big Vic. 7s all round for Vicario. 2 top saves on the day, especially that second one in the second half, where he saw it late and had to dive low down to his right hand side to provide a corner for Luton. And yeah, I thought apart from that, he didn't really have much to do.
Yeah, there was 2 saves he made. One from Ross Barkley in the second half, which was a nice low effort with his left foot from 25 yards, which he was able to tip wide. Pretty comfortable save. And then he made a really good save from Jordan Clark, who had just come off the bench. Corner falls to him on the edge of the area, takes one touch, and then a really good low effort, which was heading right into the corner, go through a lot of bodies as well. And he's able to scramble across and just tip it wide with his fingertips, basically. And that was a really crucial save, because that was a moment actually where after we'd got back in the game, Luton was starting to get back into it a tiny bit without really doing much. They were starting to get a few corners and starting to put us under a bit of pressure. And if they would have scored at that moment, then I don't know if we would have won. So that save was very, very crucial, just to make sure that Luton don't take any advantage of being on top, and obviously went on to win the game. So really good saves at crucial times, but overall didn't have too much to do.
Yeah. Let's move on to Pedro Porro. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. It was kind of a game of 2 halves for Pedro. I thought first half he didn't do anywhere near enough getting on the ball and providing an attacking threat, which we know he can do. But I thought defensively he was all right, apart from being caught out of position for the goal that they did score in the first few minutes of the game. There was that one block, or that block that he celebrated like a goal, wasn't there right in front of us. But second half, I felt like he came into his own. I thought he was brilliant in that second half, linking up with Brennan Johnson on that right-hand side. Had a shot that went just over the bar, that 1-2 with Brennan Johnson that led us onto our first goal. And I just thought he was a thorn in Luton's side for pretty much that whole second half, and he came alive. And I felt like maybe the movements that Kulusevski was making in the first half might have hampered Porro's play a little bit.
Yeah, I thought Porro, I agree with you. I thought second half he was one of our best players. I thought he was sensational. Really helped us open up Luton. Also was unlucky not to get an assist as well, with a brilliant ball to Sonny, who should have scored. I thought he was linking up really well with Brennan. It seemed like he was taking charge of a lot of those situations on at that moment. And as well, Alfie Doughty wasn't causing us problems. But I thought that was a bit different in the first half. I don't think he was at his best. He did make a crucial block, but as well for the first goal, he was Morris blocked him off and didn't get himself to Chong, who was obviously got that free shot on goal. So wasn't the best in the first half. I thought the second half sensational, so I only gave him a 7. But I thought second half, was one of our best players.
Yeah, Cuti Romero next. 7s all round for Cuti. Quite a quiet day for Cuti, seeing as our defence was hard, was very much untested for the most part of the game. But what he did do, I thought he stepped in really well, led the line really well, and brought us forward fairly well as well.
Yeah, I think first half he was fine. What he wasn't doing was, I felt like when he was getting on the ball, he was just playing it around. He wasn't like playing those punchy passes forward. And I actually saw one moment where he had the ball, played it, instead of playing it to Maddison, he played it back to Vicario, and I saw Maddison screaming him like, pass it into feet, pass it into feet. And I definitely did think that changed in the second half. He was playing a lot more progressive, incisive passes forward, and that was a lot better from him. So and defensively, he dealt with Morris well. He didn't have too much to do, so I thought it was a good display from Cuti Romero. But could have been a bit more forward thinking in that first half rather than just focused on keeping the ball.
Radu Dragushin up next. Sim gives him a 7.
I don't think that's right.
What did you give him?
6.
6. So we'll change that. But 6 is all round for Radu Dragushin. I thought we were pretty harsh on him in the post-match review that we did from the stadium, and I felt like maybe he had a slightly better performance than what we were talking about. Few nice, really good charges out on the left-hand side down the pitch, helping us get forward. I did feel like he looked really uncomfortable playing that on his left foot, to be fair. So maybe the right of the centre-back options is the best way for him. We knew that before, let's be honest. So that's why we're looking for a left-footed centre-back to come into the club in the summer. But I think for the most part, he did well, and it was a much better performance than what he showed at Fulham.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And but I also think he had a lot less to do than he did against Fulham, so I think maybe that was a case for it. I don't think we were harsh, in my opinion. I don't think he had a bad game, and I think we said that. I don't think he had a bad game. I just felt like out of all the players on the pitch, I think he struggled the most, and I think a lot of the time, his passes out the back, he didn't look comfortable. His clearances, he made a few mistakes from his clearances, which luckily for us weren't punished. But as well, he did also some good defending, and especially from corners. He got his head to quite a few corners, which is crucial. He had a few moments where he was charging down the left-hand side, really confidently opening up the pitch. But I think on another day, I think as well with the first goal, I think he was kind of caught in no man's land. He could have done a bit more with the goal as well. I don't think he had a bad game. I think he was definitely grew in confidence as the game wore on. But I do think on another day his mistakes could have been punished by a better team. So not a bad display, but I do think he was our worst player on the day.
Next up is Destiny Udogie, 6s for Destiny, and it just wasn't that kind of Destiny display, like bullishly running up the pitch, being that bulldozer, helping us in the attacking phases of the game. I just felt like that was missing from his game yesterday, and I'm not sure what it was about. But he kind of like more or less, look, he was in the areas high up the pitch a lot of the time, but I just felt like he didn't make use of the ball when he was there.
I also felt like he struggled a bit in terms of defensively. He kept committing fouls constantly. He made about 4 or 5 fouls yesterday. I was quite lucky not to get booked, to be honest, because if you make that many fouls, you're likely to get a card. And also, if you're making that many fouls, that tells me that you're struggling to contain the players on that side, and I think maybe he was at times. And I think they were getting quite a few corners from there. There was that one chance near the end, which they got in down the right-hand side, and luckily for us, the cross to the back post was a bit too much power in it. But I thought he struggled a bit defensively. I think going forward, he was okay. He was still able to do what we know he can do, maybe not to the extent that we know he can do it, but I thought he did all right. But I thought defensively, something was a bit off with him. Not that he got completely exposed, but he just had to keep making fouls rather than winning the ball, which is very unlike Destiny. So, it wasn't his best game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the stats now as well in terms of like the duels he went. He went in for 10 duels, only won 3 of them. He went for 2 aerial duels, didn't win any of them. 2 tackles, 2 interceptions, and he was dribbled past 1 time. But like he did make 5 fouls on top of that as well. So it wasn't like the Destiny that we've been seeing throughout the season. But he
can handle Saka and Salah, but not Townsend.
Yeah, exactly. Basically. Let's move on to Udogie Bissouma, 7s all round. I thought in the first half I wasn't that impressed with him, to be fair, but I thought in the second half he came out with like a renowned sense of optimism, and he got the ball. He was driving forward at times. I thought defensively as well in that second half, nothing really got past him, and I was quite impressed with him in the second half. But I'd like to see him do it for the majority of time he's on the pitch. He went off, and he was the best moment of the game actually as he was walking around the pitch. He's giving fans all claps as he's walking around the pitch, and obviously Son scores as he's behind the south stand, and he just goes and darts with Sonny for the celebration, and I love that moment. But it was a slight improvement for Bissouma, but still I was a bit worried about his first half display.
I thought even first half he wasn't bad. I thought he looked a lot more confident actually in this game. He had a few touches in the penalty area as well, which we haven't seen him far forward for a long time. He was looking to pass the ball forward a bit. He's still not quite, what the level we know he can reach with his ability to be on the half turn, burst into space and that kind of thing. But I thought defensively he was decent, albeit I thought he was bad for the first goal, to be honest. Should have done a lot better for the goal we conceded. Allowed Townsend to get past him, and that was very disappointing. So I thought, apart from that moment, I thought he had a pretty decent game, but he obviously did get taken off. But we're chasing the game with 10 minutes to go, or 5 minutes ago even. Ange went gung-ho. He decided, I'm going to go all-out attack pretty much. So Bissouma had to be the full guy, and it's no surprise as soon as we got the goal, Højbjerg came on straight away to
steady the ship.
Steady the ship. So that tells me that he didn't take Bissouma off because he was playing badly. He took Bissouma off because we needed to have more offensive players on the pitch. So I thought he had a decent game. It was much better than Fulham. Still not the best level, but I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, and I felt like he was just growing as the game wore on, Bissouma. But Anyway, Pape Matar Sarr, 7s all round for Pape. Look, I thought it was a good display from him. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get 100% intensity levels, 100% energy levels, quality on the ball as well. He was getting his shots off. But I did feel like the kind of creativity from midfield improved when he went off.
Yeah, I agree with that, albeit I did think he was probably our best midfielder before he went off, to be honest. I thought he was actually having a really good game. His pressing was really good. He obviously created that chance with his pressing in the first half. He had that really good moment where he was really involved in that little really good piece of play on the right hand side of the penalty area in the second half. Really good one-touch football in and around the penalty area and created an opening which Porro nearly took advantage of.
That's what frustrates me, though. Like, when you see those patterns of play, like what you're talking about with when Pape Matar Sarr was involved in that, we don't do that anywhere near as much as we should be. That's what frustrates me about this team.
It's hard to do, but yeah, I agree. But when we do that, you think, oh, the football's fluid, and then we don't do it enough. But what Sarr was really good at is just bursting into that space that was left, when especially when Johnson was, forcing players out wide when he was hugging the touchline. Sarr was really good filling in that space, making sure that it's being vacated and it's being exploited, and we were finding him quite a lot in those spaces around the penalty area, and he's so good at keeping the ball in around the box. Actually, I'm really impressed with that. That's one of his biggest strengths, and doesn't lose the ball. It's hard to get the ball off him, so that was really good. But maybe, with 20 minutes to go, and just wanted that bit more extra energy, is why I took him off. But I actually thought he was having a good game before he got taken off.
Agreed. Let's move on to James Maddison. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I was quite disappointed with Maddis yesterday with his work on the ball. Didn't give us enough in a creative standpoint. I don't think he even created a chance throughout the game. And when you're playing a team like Luton, you need your creative players to be creative, and he basically wasn't that. Off the ball, I think he did play really well in terms of winning lots of possession, dropping deep, kind of with his small passes in those areas of the pitch. But when he kind of got forward in that number 10 role, he just didn't do enough for me.
Yeah, I agree. Wasn't his probably one of his weakest displays since coming back from his injury. Albeit I didn't think he was bad. I actually didn't think he was looking off it, but he was playing some good passes in the middle, knitting the play together quite well. He had one shot inside the penalty area, which unfortunately was blocked. He was looking to do something, but unfortunately he wasn't kind of doing enough of those through balls, crosses, shots that we know he's capable of. He was more interested in, it seemed, in coming deep, retaining possession, keeping Spurs in control of the game, but that didn't allow us to kind of create. Well, he didn't create the opportunities that we know he can. So that was a bit disappointing. But I did think off the ball, he was very combative. He was involved in a lot of tackles and duels and stuff like that, which he came out on top of. So that was positive. But I think it was right to bring on Lo Celso for him when we did.
Next up, Dejan Kulusevski. I feel me and Sim are going to have a fight today. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 4. I was really frustrated with Dejan Kulusevski in the first half. I thought rightly so, he got hooked up at half time. Yes, he was involved in the good moments for Spurs in the first half, but we should have been doing a lot more, and he's not implementing a style of play that Ange wants him to implement. He needs to be getting out wide. He needs to be attacking his fullback and getting crosses in the box in that sense, and he's not doing that. He's cutting inside way too much, hampering the play. I felt like he hampered Porro in terms of the way Porro likes to operate in those central areas, and he needs to be out wide, and he's just not doing that. And he's not a winger in an Ange system, and he needs to listen to the manager's advice and the manager's system and the manager's direction. And I just feel he's not doing that.
I think he hampered the team. I don't deny that. I think him doing what he was doing in terms of cutting inside and clogging up those central spaces instead of hugging the touchline was not allowing the other players to exploit the spaces being left there. Reason I gave him a 6 is because individually, as a player on the pitch, I actually don't think he played badly when he was on the ball. Apart from obviously the moment where the goal came from, which was a bad pass, he could have easily been sitting at the end of the half with 2 assists if two of those moments go in, which I thought were really good moments for him, actually. Really good pass out to Werner, really early pass with good quality, right into his path, which opened that chance. And then obviously good through ball to Sonny, who went around the keeper and should have scored. So could have easily been sitting at the end of that first half with 2 assists, and people don't even talk about his first half if that happens, but didn't happen. And then obviously what he was doing was hampering the team, not because he was having a bad game individually, but because of where he was placing himself on the pitch. So I do think it was the right thing to leave him, to take him off, and because we saw what Werner was doing on the left hand side, he was getting joy staying wide, and we were getting a bit more joy there. So and saw that situation, thought we need to be doing that on the right hand side as well, and Johnson is a better option for that. So unfortunately, his presence hampered the team, but I actually don't think individually he played badly on the ball.
Yeah, but I think those positional plays and listening to the manager's instruction has to go into individual performances as well. It's not just
that's why he didn't get more than a 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just, if you're in good moments and you provide a good pass, and yeah, obviously he needs to be talked about in that sense as well. But like I keep saying, I've said it time and time again on this stream, I just don't think he's the right fit for what we want to do on that right-hand side, unless he can start implementing Ange's style of play, and he's just not doing that at the moment. So that's why I gave him a really poor rating. Let's move on to Timo Werner. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. See, this is like the complete opposite of Dejan Kulusevski, because he operated in the areas that Ange wants him to operate in. He gets into really good spaces. He isolates the fullback. He tries to take him on. He tugs the touchline. But on the flip side, his quality at the end of it is nowhere near as good as Dejan Kulusevski's, and he doesn't have the end product like Dejan Kulusevski has time and time again. So I feel like if you could merge Decky and Werner into one player, you'll probably have one of the best wingers in the world.
Probably have Gareth Bale or something if you did that. But yeah, I thought he had a good game. I wasn't unhappy with him. He was a constant threat down the left-hand side. He never really stopped being a threat, to be honest. Whenever he got the ball, they struggled to kind of contain him. They struggled to deal with him. And he had some really good moments. Obviously, that run in the first half where he completely burns Kabore and he puts it wide was a good moment, but unfortunately just couldn't make the most of it. He had a few moments as well where he got to the left-hand side and put a good ball across the face of goal and wasn't taken advantage of. He had a really good pass in behind to Lo Celso, which who set up a really good opportunity. Obviously, he was really well involved in the winner with a really good run down the left-hand side and a cut back to Brennan, and that obviously set up the winner. So there were some good moments, but there was also a lot of very frustrating moments. There was a moment where Højbjerg played him in on goal, and he just completely takes it way too far out wide, where he had an opportunity to really go for his defender, didn't do it, and ends up blazing over the bar. Had a number of opportunities as well where he could have really taken on his defender, and his cross ends up getting blocked or not good enough execution. So it was definitely a bit of a hot and cold display for Werner. I would say more hot than cold just because he was a constant threat. But I think it was a classic display of why he's so frustrating, because he does so many good things, but he just leaves you wanting more, and that's the reality with Timo.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's go to finish off with Heung-min Son in terms of the starting lineup. 8 all round for us, and he was a constant presence, a constant thorn in Luton's side. I felt like time and time again he was trying to attack that space, and so many times I felt in the first half like he would be charging forward and the runners off him would just be running in the complete wrong areas of the pitch, and he just had no options to pass it into, which was really frustrating for me. But he could have had a hat-trick on the day. His finishing maybe wasn't to the Heung-min Son finishing that we know and love, but I felt he was always a presence, always a danger, and obviously got that winning goal, which, captain clutch in Heung-min Son. So a top display in my opinion.
Yeah, and I thought he actually did a really good job, like when he was actually dropping deep and turning and running into the space, causing problems for the Luton defenders. They didn't know whether to go with him and then get turned or stay back and leave him all that space in front of him. And it was causing Luton a lot of problems, I thought, at those moments. He actually had 6 shots on the day, so he's really involved in the trying to get on the score sheet. And against a side with playing like a back three, getting involved was always going to be one of the most difficult things for him, but I thought he actually did really well in that aspect. The only thing that was missing was obviously his finishing, and did end up getting his goal, but luckily for him it was a bit of a deflection, obviously took it past the keeper. But the goal, the chance of that first half, he probably doesn't know how that didn't go in, hitting both posts. There was a chance in the second half where Porro plays a really good ball across the face of goal and he gets a good contact on it, but it just wasn't the best finish, unfortunately for him. And he had a number of shots as well, which he probably didn't make the most out of. But we know with Sonny, he keeps going. And to do that lung bursting run in the 85th minute just shows not only that he never stops and he keeps going, but also what a condition he's in, because having those 2 games for career, those long flights, lot of travel time and all that kind of stuff, and to be in, 1 or 85th minute, picks up the ball on the edge of his own area and still has the energy and the ability to run half the pitch, play a great pass to Werner, follow that run into the penalty area and score the goal. That's why he's our captain, and that's why he's one of the best players in the Premier League, because he has that mentality, and that capped off what was a really, really good display from him, I felt.
Yeah, and he really did deserve that goal in the final 10 minutes when we did score and get the winner, and it was great to see, to be honest, and it was great to see him leading the team with the captain's armband. He's such a top role model, isn't he? I don't know I've ever seen a better role model than Heung-min on a football pitch. But let's get into the substitutes. Let's start off with Brennan Johnson. 9s all round for Brennan. I mean, he came on, he completely changed the game. He offered us on the right hand side what Decky wasn't for the majority of that first half. Everything good coming from Spurs going forward, he was involved in. Nearly got his goal as well, and the ball was like a millimetre not over the line. I mean, when we were there, we thought it was Heung-min Son, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it was Brennan Johnson. 2 assists on the day as well. Second one was a lovely layoff for Sonny. The first one was a lovely low-driven cross that was aimed at Timo Werner, and then it was an own goal. But yeah, I mean, he was brilliant, and he's really growing in this Spurs shirt now. I've been one, and I've given him a bit of stick saying he's getting these goal contributions, but his performance level isn't up to scratch. But if you look at 3 out of his last 4 games, he's been getting the goal contributions, plus his performance level has been there to match it. So he keeps getting better and better in a Spurs shirt, and he looks like he's going to be a really dangerous player for us moving forward. And it's not just the way he was, using the ball and attacking the space. It's his movement as well. I love the movement that he's showing off the ball and on the ball. So he's really growing in the shirt.
Yeah, starting to prove a lot of people wrong, as we say, and it's becoming a bit of a trademark. Either it's Brennan Johnson, a ball across the face of goal, dangerous ball, getting a goal, or it's a Brennan Johnson run to the back post. Two Brennan Johnson trademarks, or maybe that's 2 Ange trademarks, you could say. But I thought he was excellent when he came on. Doughty will be having sleepless nights about Brennan Johnson after yesterday, because he just came on and just absolutely took the game to him, and he couldn't live with him. He couldn't live with his pace, and he was getting him behind constantly. He was getting down those channels, and what I loved about it, he wasn't just getting him behind and winning a corner, or he was actually providing quality with his delivery. And every time he'd put the ball across the face of goal, it was always in that corridor of uncertainty where defenders and goalkeepers hate dealing with those situations. And if you watch the goal, it was actually a really weird moment, because Brennan Johnson whips it across the face of goal, and Kabore just finished it like he was a striker. He seemed to have no attempt to even try and clear. It was like, oh, the ball's too good, I'm just going to put it in. It needs to be put in. It was like that for the goal. And then, as you say, that to set up the winner in the way he did, to have the presence of mind. A lot of players in that position maybe will try and take a touch and swivel, won't have the presence of mind to, or even try and finish themselves, but they won't have the presence of mind to do what Brennan did, which is to notice Son in behind him in a better position in space, have on the stretch, have a deft layoff into Sonny with a perfect way of pass, so Sonny can just come onto it and strike it first time. Really brilliant moment from him. Really great assist, and good reward for what was an unbelievable cameo. And as you say, desperately unlucky not to be on the score sheet as well. How that stayed out, I've seen it again so many times. I still don't know how it didn't go in. So it
was like Lamella's one a few years back, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was literally doesn't get much tighter than it did yesterday for Brendan. So really unlucky. Should have been sitting here with 2 assists and a goal, but brilliant cameo from him. And hopefully people will start to give him some respect. I think that's 12 goal contributions now for him. I think it's 6th in his last 8. He's in good form and he's playing really well, and he seems to really starting to understand what Ange wants from him. And yeah, people are forgetting how young he is. Still 22. He's such a young player, and clearly this guy has ability.
Yeah, that's what worries me though, like in terms of Decky, because Brennan has already kind of starting to realize what Ange wants from him, when Decky still kind of doesn't understand what Ange really wants from him from a right winger, which worries me a bit in terms of Dejan Kulusevski, and that's why I keep saying he should be moving into the middle. But he also, that's 6 goal contributions from the bench for Brennan Johnson yesterday, and that is more than anyone else in the Premier League.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, amazing from Brennan, and I think it's actually 11 goal contributions.
Because the own goal doesn't count.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it 12.
All right, we'll call it 12 if you're going by FPL. But let's move on to Rodrigo Bentancur. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. I thought he came on, started to dictate the tempo of the game, showing his silky skills, keeping the ball really well. There was one time in the middle where he did give it away, but then gave away a foul to compensate that. But I thought he came on with really good energy, and I think we're starting to see Bentancur get back to his best now.
Yeah, I thought it was a phenomenal cameo from him, full of quality. He just does things sometimes in the centre which just leave you in a bit of awe. There was one moment where he picks the ball up in the centre circle, plays an unbelievable over-the-top pass to Brennan Johnson right on a sixpence and creates an opening. As soon as he came on, he took the ball down the right-hand side in the channel, takes a pass to play and whips in an unbelievable cross to the back post, which, Son nearly gets on the end of, and Werner skews wide a header. His cameo was just full of quality, full of ability, silkiness, and it was really great to see. And he looks to be getting more and more confident in recent weeks. So as long as his confidence is growing, it's going to be better for everyone. So I'm delighted about that. And if this is how good he is with nine toes, I would love to see him with 10.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Giovani Lo Celso, the last of the substitutes that we're going to rate. 7s all round for Gio. It feels like it's ages since we've seen him, but I thought he came on and he was a lot more creative than James Maddison when he came on, and I felt like he was getting the ball, driving forward, providing quality with his passes as well, and I felt like just him, Bentancur, and obviously Brennan Johnson, but he came on a lot earlier, just seemed to change the momentum of the game for us.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good cameo from Lo Celso. Seemed to add a bit more ingenuity to the team when he was a bit more incisiveness. Obviously, he set up that chance for Brennan Johnson, who was unlucky not to score. It was a really great cutback and really good movement from him. He was buzzing around in the centre, playing quick passes, and also it was really good when Luton were going forward. He was really good, just like making tackles and getting us on the counter and driving us forward with a bit of pace. And people forget how good Lo Celso can be because of the injuries he has, and people get frustrated with all those things. But by and large, this season, when he's had the opportunity to get on the pitch, he's actually been really good. And I thought yesterday was another really good example of that. And hopefully we start to use him more because he can be a very useful player for us.
Yeah. And last but not least, Ange Postecoglou, 7s all round for Ange. Obviously, he found the ways how to win the game. The changes that he did make, Brennan Johnson coming on at halftime, completely changed the game for us. Bentancur, Lo Celso, all the changes that he made impacted the game in a positive way. Having said that, he needs to find ways how to, because if we would have played our game from the first minute, we could have been out of sight at halftime. That's just the reality. A poor Luton side coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Not poor in terms of how they've been all season, but poor in terms of how many injuries they've had throughout the team. So it was an opportunity for us to really blow them away, in my opinion, in the first half. That didn't happen. And this seems to be a common theme now with Spurs, where we're not kind of impacting our authority early in games in the first half, and we haven't scored in the first half for God knows how long, and he needs to work away around that. And I just felt like, and he said it after the game, we just made it a lot harder for ourselves than it should have been yesterday.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I feel bad for Ange because I felt like if we would have put the chances away, we should have. We should have won this game 4 or 5-1, and then no one's really talking about a bad display. People are talking about a good performance. And then let's be honest, 2 of the chances that were missed, the Son one that hits both posts and the Brennan Johnson one that rolls across the line, those are kind of like 1 in a million things. But like 9 times out of 10, those are goals, and we win this game a lot more comfortably than we did. Those chances don't go in, and unfortunately, we did have to leave it late and to win the game, and that was a shame. But I don't think that takes away from the performance, in my opinion, because I felt like we did play well in general. We were dominated. Luton had barely anything, to be honest, apart from the goal and a couple of long range shots. They had nothing. So I don't know what more people want apart from putting away those chances. But when 2 1 in a million things happen, I mean, how much blame can you put
create more than what we created?
We created more. We had an XG of over 3. We created plenty of chances to score. We were just a lot of those couple of moments were really unlucky. Obviously, maybe we could have hit the target with a few more, but we created plenty. We should have won this game a lot more easily than we did. Obviously, did get the goal in the end, which won the game. So I don't think it was an amazing, perfect display. But when you restrict the opposition to barely anything, you create the level of chances we did. I don't know how much more you can ask for. And as well, from Ange's point of view, The subs worked really well, made some really good subs on the day, impacted the game really positively, especially making that sub at halftime, which was brave and impacted the game amazingly because Brennan Johnson changed the game. So I think it was a good day in the end. Look, on another day, we should have won it by more and more comfortably and got the lead earlier. But we won the game like we did, and we take the 3 points.
All right, so there you have it. That is our player ratings from the 2-1 win against Luton